I'm a British teen that moved all the way from the UK to America without even visiting America first. I didn't know anyone there, I didn't know any advice, I didn't know what the country was like. Nothing, nada, zilch. So here is what I wish I would have known, or what I wish I could go back and tell myself, having first moved here. Stuff basically to look out for, culture shocks, all this. First one, and it's a big one for me, would be about the food. So there's the common stereotype that portions are much bigger in America, which for the most part is true. However, I can live with that, it's no big deal. Package it up, take it home, whatever. What I wasn't completely aware of was how bad the food quality can be on average in America. And I'm not talking about restaurants going there and the food tasting bad. I mean, what's in the food. Now, obviously, I'd seen on TV, I'd seen online that some stuff added to the food in America is banned in Europe, such as like Red 40, need I go on, chemicals, stuff like that. However, I didn't know to what extent it would be. Like, all of the food in like a grocery store, supermarket, a food shop is not very good. First of all, one of the biggest standouts for me is the bread. This one annoys me because I don't like how the bread tastes. I just wish sometimes I could have my bread from back home and have my toast and my beans on toast. Stereotypical for a British person to say, but I miss it. But yeah, the bread just tastes a lot sweeter, a lot more artificial, and I find that with a lot of the foods. It's just also on a health level. I don't know why I phrased it like that, but it's not good to be putting this stuff in your body. So we do try buy organic where we can. And I know as well you can't fall for that one because a lot of the organic stuff isn't actually organic. So it's really hard to figure out what stuff is and isn't good. We try the best we can. And obviously there's only so much you can do. We do our bit that we can. However, it's a lot more expensive to do that on a whole. It does just make me sad sometimes that people can't access that really good quality food for normal pricing or just easily accessible, because again, any of the slightly better food you can get is way more expensive, so some people just can't afford to do that. Next will be the weather. These also aren't going to be all positive or negative. This is just a mix, so it's not like I'm going to be sat here slagging off America. That is not my intention. There's just some things I wish I would have known before. This one is positive. This one's the weather. Completely depends on which state you're in. I don't want to get like battered like last time and slaughtered in the comments. I understand that. The state I'm in is pretty sunny. And oh my gosh, even if I was in a state that had a few seasons but it still had a sunny season, I think it would make such a difference. I talk about this all the time. I talk about this to my friends. I talk about this on my TikTok. I talk about it to everyone that I meet, literally, that will ask me about the UK. The weather makes such an impact, and we didn't even realise it. Coming here initially was such an eye-opener because not seeing grey clouds overcast all the time made my mood improve so much. So I definitely... Some people are screaming outside. I'm definitely a firm believer in like seasonal depression and weather depression. It can have an effect on your mood. Not saying that I was depressed, but it definitely dampens the mood. And I think as a whole, that's why people in the UK are more grumpy and upset, which it is hard to be surrounded by that all the time. I think as humans, we do need to sometimes see some form of something. And it's not even just about the temperature, it's just about the lighting. It's just gloomy. And that promotes more indoor culture. So that's another thing I really love about where I live in America, is the outdoor culture is insane. It's amazing. We don't really sit at home and watch TV like we do in the UK. That's all we do. Come home, sit down, get your food out, watch TV. Just overall stay inside, because no one wants to be walking out in this gloomy weather when it is raining, hailing, whatever, all the time. And like I said, it is grey overcast, but it's not always raining. However, you can't plan anything really, so everything just tends to end up being inside, and I love being outside, and I think that has had such a positive effect on me too, so that is really, really nice. Next would be the people. The people are much different in America than in the UK, which is completely understandable. Two separate countries. However, as a whole, I'd say the atmosphere, I don't know, the outlook people have, their energy, I'm not really sure how I'm trying to put this, but basically, overall, bottom line is, not in a rude way at all, people are much nicer in America, in the state I'm in, than they were in the UK. Hands up, and I'm gonna say it. For me personally, that has been my experience. Everyone's experience can be so different from one another, so I don't want to get hate by saying that. That's how I felt. I think again, it is from like the sunshine. It's playing a big role in it, to be honest with you. Next would be the holidays. This is a fun one. I've, for example, never celebrated Thanksgiving, 4th of July, these type of holidays, Veterans Day, before I went to America, because they're obviously American holidays. Side note, I will say one of my pet peeves, people that live in America will come up to me all the time when it's about this time around these holidays and ask what we do in the UK for them. And it annoys me so much, because I'm like, why are you asking someone from England what they do to celebrate 4th of July or Thanksgiving. Like, back to the point. Yeah, it is really fun. It's interesting. I still don't remember the exact dates. Obviously, for example, 4th of July is pretty easy. I still forget the dates sometimes of like when Thanksgiving is. Like, what even month is it in? November? I'm pretty sure. It's literally just been and I don't remember, but yeah, I do mess up on the dates, but I do love it. I've gone around to my friends. I've been really grateful that they've invited me around, and my family, for example, for Thanksgiving. That was so fun. 4th of July, the atmosphere is great. It's just fun experiencing different traditions and things like that, so that has been great. Next would be schooling. I don't want to go too in depth on this. I think it's such a big topic. Again, I did this on my TikTok and the amount of comments I got was too much. So too much to discuss in this video. I think if I was going to do that, I'd have to make a separate video for it. I think it is a big topic, but if I'm going to blanket statement it, I'd say it's very different. Get people on both sides of the spectrum talking about this all the time, and it's definitely been a big controversy when I've posted about this online before. Of people agreeing with me, people really getting mad at me for saying this, but I'm going to come out and say it. I think the education in America is less than the UK on a baseline. The level of education. Coming from the UK, I came just about GCSE time when I was doing that. Actually, no, that's a lie. Just before then. And obviously that isn't even our main point or hardest point of education before, obviously, university, college, Americans call it. A-levels goes even more further in depth than that, and I didn't do A-levels, but what I will say, coming from then, and people would be like, what classes do you take? So I tell them the classes they took, and they would be like super shocked. They're like, what, you're already doing physics and chemistry and da-da-da? And it's just like baffling to me, because we don't have a choice with these things. And I know Americans go over all of it, and you can take obviously further classes like AP classes, honours classes, but still, even in them, I'd say maybe apart from maths, I think math, I get laughed at a lot for that one. I know they can do like pretty high level stuff that in America, but on an average student, they're not really knowing as much as I think a person from England would, or maybe Europe. The further in depth classes, I think, for maths are great. I do think that goes pretty in depth if the student is in them. Obviously not everyone is. For all the other subjects, I hate to say it, I feel like it's lower. I started American school and doing American schooling after I'd finished my high school experience in the UK, finished some of it online, whatever, and I had to do the baseline test to come into the American school, just so they can see what classes to put me in, what I've already done, kind of track my process. And on it, I scored what you would need to score at the end of high school. I first joined, which was not near the end of high school. So I think that just kind of shows a little bit that, for example, especially in the core subjects like English, sciences, whatever, there is a little bit more in depth in the UK. Maybe we just do it earlier, I'm not really sure, I don't know, it probably catches up at the end. But also, when I told people, for example, I took physics, in the UK, I took triple science. If anyone even knows when they're watching this video, you can take combined, which is slightly easier, but everyone does. Obviously very few exceptions, but on a whole, everybody does chemistry, biology, physics. Why did I forget biology? And you have to do it, and it's not an option. But here, for example, you don't have to take 3 sciences, so a lot of people, or at least my friends, don't take physics and won't take physics, and I think that's just baffling that they don't have to do it. Even baffling, just so strange and foreign to me, as that's what I've come from. I will say, again, I'm getting too much into this, and I apologise, I am a waffler. Because schooling is such a big topic for me, I feel like I have so much to say on it. But the way American system is set up is so different too, and I think it has so many positives. Like, I don't think doing, like, for example, the GCSEs and then the A-levels as one test represents your whole high school experience. I think in America it's not off one test, it's based on kind of what you do throughout your high school experience, which I think is a much better way to do it, and there's much more projects, and I think it can be funner, and you have to level up kind of what level of education they're doing. Too much to talk about, I'm sorry if I'm boring you, I'll move on. I think I need to do a separate video on this. Next would be the taxes. Every state is different, I understand that, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I've been to quite a few states, but obviously I've not been to all of them, but I'm pretty sure they do this throughout America, where your tax on items is added after you purchase or when you're purchasing. So when you look at an item, my makeup bag's right in front of me, for example this, and say it's like $30, and you're like, okay, pretty good, and then you go to check out, they'll add the tax on, so this could become like 35, 38, whatever dollars, depending on where you are. And I think that's just so annoying, because I'm pretty sure the UK has taxes on stuff that they add on, but it's just in the price. So when I see that item and it's $30, £30, I know I'm paying £30 for it, I don't get a jump scare when I get to the checkout and I'm like, oh. Because one thing seems small, but when you buy, like, for example, a whole food shop or a whole new wardrobe, these little $2, $3, $4, $5, whatever add-ons add up, and they can be very pricey. And I think it's just annoying, like, if you're gonna price it at that, it's fine, but let me know when I pick that item up. Yeah, that was definitely a weird one at times. Next would just be slang. This I love. I find it so funny that obviously people are gonna have different slang everywhere they go. I love learning American slang. I much more enjoy teaching my friends British slang. But even not in slang words, just some normal words you wouldn't expect, but like, for example, queue. I think I've talked about this before, as in like line, when you line up for something. They don't know that here, and I didn't even pick up on that for ages. I was asking people like, oh, like, is this the end of the queue, or is this where the queue starts? And everyone was just looking at me like, it wasn't until I was actually out with someone and I asked them that and they were like, huh? Like, what do you mean? And then they taught me, did they say line? And I was like, yeah. But anyways, there's loads of little words like that. Crisps, chips, whole shebang. Really funny. Actually, funny story about chips. When we very first came, we went and tried Chick-fil-A and we wanted to order like the sandwich, like burger thing, and chips, as in fries, I guess, which does annoy me because in my head fries are like the skinny fries, and chips are like kind of the chunky ones. Like, we variation of words for it in the UK. Like, if I'm ordering chips, I'm expecting chunky chips. If I'm ordering fries, I'm expecting skinny fries, like French fries. However, here they just call it fries, and I'm just like, I don't know what I'm gonna end up getting. This is confusing me now because I've lived here for a while that I am thinking of crisps when I'm saying this. But anyway, so we went to the drive-thru, ordered that. We got a bag of crisps, which isn't common for any drive-thru I know in the UK to sell crisps, chips. This is getting confusing. We went back in and we were like, sorry, I think we've had a mix-up. We asked for chips, and they were like, you've got chips. Anyway, we found it out, and it was actually very funny in the end with the workers. But yeah, that was a quick shock for us. Literally like the first or second day we got in America. So we learned our lesson the hard way. There is so much more I can say on this. I mostly talk about this topic on my TikTok, but I wanted to do kind of a longer video, and on TikTok I usually do 2 to 5 minute videos, so I didn't really feel like I could get out everything I wanted to say, and clearly I was in a chatty mood. So I'm sorry if I chewed your ear off and you actually watched this whole thing. I love talking about this. Moving to America has changed my life in so many ways. I'm so grateful, and I'll talk about it for days. So I'll definitely make more videos like this. I posted a few ages ago, like, they are currently my most viewed videos, so I thought, why not do another one? Like, YouTube clearly liked that one. So yeah, that's all I have to say on that. I'm gonna stop talking, jeez. I think that's gonna be the end of this video before I start listing loads more random things. I hope this helped or was just interesting, and I'll see you in my next video.